Hey guys, and welcome to the Magic Minute episode 15, otherwise now known as the Lepore Report. So I used to do a show on TCG Player called the Lepore Report, and I stopped because it was a lot of work, and I didn't have the time for it during my week. And so then I started doing, when I went to Newmont Gaming, I started doing a show called I did a show called the Magic Minute, and then I brought it over to Newmont Gaming. But I don't really know why I didn't just continue calling it the Lepore Report, because that was a great name, and the Magic Minute was only called that because it was about magic. It was a couple minutes, and it was a nice alliteration. But the thing is, it wasn't a minute, and that was always kind of funny. Like, oh well, this video is like 10 minutes long, so it's kind of a misnomer. Anyway, today we're going to talk about my FNM curse. If you guys follow me on Facebook or Twitter, you would have noticed that I posted something about going to my first FNM in months. And I don't know, the standard format's kind of weird, so I haven't really been feeling like going to play FNM. It feels like kind of a 2.5 deck format, which is interesting. So yeah, went to FNM, and so the thing about FNM for me is that I can pretty much, if there's a GP, I can pretty much do well at a GP. I feel like I'm pretty solid. If I've done well at half the pro tours I've been to. Whenever I go to FNM, I feel like I just do terribly, and it's really weird. I don't understand it. So I went to FNM. I was playing the black-green counters deck with the Snicks. So we had Winding Constrictor, we had Verdurous Gearhulk, we had the Glint Sleeve Siphoner, is that what that card's called? And, stuff like that. So Long Tusk Cub, stuff like that. And so round one, we played against he was a newer opponent. He admitted it to me. He admitted it to me like it's some kind of crime. He admitted it. I knew you would come clean. But he said, I'm a new player. And I was like, yeah, totally cool. If you have any questions, just let me know. And he was also playing a black-green deck, but it was more like a budget list. It was kind of a draft version. Like he had, it's like Scrounging Bandars, but he also had like Panharmonicon, so that your Winding Constrictor would put counters on something, but if it's something that comes into play and triggers, then it triggers twice, and then it gets two. So if he had Verdurous Gearhulk, it would trigger twice, but then each one would get extra counters from the Winding Constrictor. It was pretty crazy. But I didn't end up winning. He did beat me a game, and that was one of the best parts about Magic. I did get a little mana screwed, to be honest, but I mean, nevertheless, that's one of the tenets of the mana system that they tout, is that because of mana, because of resources, because you might not get your lands, even the newest or most inexperienced player can beat John Finkel, for example. So it's the point being that you go to something like FNM, you're a newer player, and you can still win matches, win games. So it's kind of like a handicap system, basically, which is interesting. But yeah, that's that's Magic, right? Sometimes you get lands, sometimes you get a million lands, sometimes you get no lands. So I ended up winning that match. Round two, we played against the mirror match, which was green-black, obviously, and they had a million removal spells. We actually couldn't do anything. So there were situations where I could put them to 2 life, and then I go to Blossoming Defense, and then they kill it in response. I'm just like, okay, you kill me on the crackback. The one thing I realized with this black-green deck is that it just has no answers to an opposing Verdurous Gearhulk. They could literally play Verdurous Gearhulk, put all the counters on it, and we just have no answers. We have, 1 murder in the whole 75. Otherwise, we have, 3 Fatal Pushes, 2 Grasps, 4 Grasps, something like that. It doesn't matter how many Grasps. Unless you have multiples or, you want to 2-for-1 yourself on a Verdurous Gearhulk, it just doesn't do anything. So, we ended up losing that match, so we're 1-1. We ended up playing the next round against a pretty sweet blue-red control deck. I've seen this deck going around in Magic Online a little bit, and the deck looks sweet. It plays things like Torrential Gearhulk, Harness Lightning, Glimmerer, stuff like that. This list had Thing in the Ice. I'm not sure I'd play Thing in the Ice myself, but it was still fine. I like seeing cards like that. And if you ever get it to flip against Verdurous Gearhulks and Winding Constrictors and things like that, it seems pretty good. However, one of the main problems of a deck like this is that they already have so few targets. So they have a handful of Fatal Pushes and Grasp of Darknesses, and you don't have any targets for that. So they're immediately going to just be able to kill your Thing in the Ice with these cards that are otherwise dead. And if one of your only threats is Torrential Gearhulk, their fatal pushes are blanks. So that's a mulligan every time they draw a fatal push against you, which is great. But that's not the case. So I was able to kill Thing in the ice, and like I ended up winning that match, but again, took it to 3 games. Last round, I played against my friend James Kerr. This guy is the reddest of red mages I've ever met. James has always been known to play red decks. This deck actually had Brazen Scourge. Is that what it's called? The 3/3 haste creature, the 3/3 red haste creature for 3. I think it's Brazen Scourge. It's a gremlin. And it also had a Coom Firebird, which is a 3/3 flying haste for 4. And it has an ability landfall. Whenever a land comes into play, you can pay 6 to return it from your graveyard to the battlefield, which is pretty sweet. So both of these cards, I was like, wow, what is going on? He was also playing Combustible Gear Hulks. And, as mentioned earlier, just can't beat a Combustible Gear Hulk. It's a 6/6, not a 4/4 this time, so I can't even respond to the trigger by killing it with a Grasp. And it has First Strike, so how many guys do I really have to put in front of a Combustible Gear Hulk in order to beat it? The answer is like 1,000,000. So anyway, I ended up losing this round, and I'm 2-2, so I just drop and I go home. And I'm trying to figure out this format, because I'm playing in Grand Prix, New Jersey in... about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks maybe, and I don't know what to play. I still have no idea what to play. And I realized tonight, and this is something I've always known about myself, but I seem to forget it when there's like a really strong aggro deck in a format. I'm definitely a control player. I like being able to kill your creatures. I like being able to sweep the board, and I like being able to draw cards. There were like situations where I had Forest, Swamp in hand, and I'm just like, I hope I draw another 2/3 off the top of my deck. Like, I hate situations like that. I'd much rather play like cards like Anticipate to sculpt my hand, or cards like Glimmer of Genius in order to, draw 2 cards and scry 2. Like, stuff like that's my bread and butter. And then I want to play one really big guy at the end of the game, whether it's Ulamog or Torrential Gear Hulk, or maybe even Combustible Gear Hulk. And I want to kill you with that. And I want to hope that all your removal that is geared towards these smaller creatures is blank against me. And so I would love to see a control deck that I feel comfortable with to take to the GP. The other thing is that there are a bunch of there's kind of like these weird control decks with Saheeli combos in them, but most of those are 21 land green decks that have 4 attune with Aether, and that's also interesting to me, because I'm like, there's hands where you get like 1 mana and no attunes, and you're like, oh well, maybe I should have played more than 21 lands, or you get like 8 lands in a game, and it's super weird. The disparity is like super strange. But then again, it's just a deck filled with like 3/2s and 2/2s and 2/3s, and again, those guys are not super impressive a lot of the time. And that's not to say these decks are bad. These decks are great. Like, these are powerful decks that are doing really strong things. They're just not my play style, and I think that's affecting me. And I think it probably affects you guys too. Like, if you're not playing a deck that's geared towards your play style, then you probably want to check that out. Like, that's a big block, a big stumbling block for me. Like, I don't know when to attack. I don't know how to sequence things in aggressive decks. Like, I don't know when to use combat tricks, stuff like that. Like, and it's definitely because I just don't have that kind of, like, I don't play control decks. I don't play aggressive decks enough, so it definitely affects me when I do. But yeah, if you guys have any idea, let me know in the comments what I should play at the GP. It's standard. And, I've been streaming a bunch of standard as well on my stream. So if you guys haven't done so, please check me out on Twitch as well. It's twitch.tv/Frank Lepore. I stream about 4 or 5 days a week. And, we can hang out and get our chat on. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think about standard, and we'll see you later. Hey guys, Frank here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm ruining the magic of the green screen for you guys. If you liked the video, please make sure to subscribe. You can hit the buttons up here or right down there, and be sure to hit the bell icon as well. That way you'll get notifications whenever a new video is posted. You can also check out some other content right here. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really appreciate it.